Now, in the previous videos, we've created tables, we've added data, we've retrieved it, we've reduced the number of columns, we've reduced the number of rows. But it's all been very literal. We've not actually done any analysis. So, for instance, I've not tried to work out what the total cost of purchase order ID 7 is. It's just literally retrieving all of the information that I gave. So let's try to do that. So I'm going to start from my simple select star from dbo.transactions. And what I want is the purchase order ID and I want the line total. Okay, and I execute that. And incidentally, that's one reason why I do generally start from, I select star from and set up my tables, because when I go back to select clause, then the autocomplete works. So there is, again, my original data. It's not totaled them up. It's just retrieved the data that I want. Now, if you're used to Excel, you know that you could put the word sum around your particular field. So here we have sum, open bracket, line total, close bracket. So let's execute that, and we will find, for instance, for purchase order ID, we have a total of about 41,000. So job done, go on to the next video, and okay, let's find out what this error message is all about. The purchase order ID column, that's this one, is invalid in the select list. Oh my goodness, does that mean we can't use it? Because it is not contained in either an aggregate function. What's an aggregate function? These are things that summarize, like sum, count, min, max. So it's not an aggregate function. Well, we don't want it to be an aggregate function. It would look particularly odd if we try to total up the order IDs. I want order ID 7. I don't want order ID 21. I don't want to have to sum the 7s. Or the group by clause. And this is the fourth clause of the select statement. So if you're doing any sort of reductions in terms of aggregation, sum, count, min, max, if you've got any other columns, and you generally will, you need to use the two words group by and put any additional columns in the group by. So let's execute that. And there we can see that the 8,865 rows, 8,845 rows have been reduced to 4,012 rows. Now I'm going to add a where to this, where the purchase order ID is equal to 7. So we can see now the total 58,685. Does that sound right? So we're going to just do our original query. So we've got 14,000, 25,000, 18,000. So yes, add it up, 14, 32, 20, 32, 58, 57, 58. So yeah, 58,000 sounds about right. You notice that this new column is called no column name. So if you are using an aggregate function, it's generally good form to put in a new name. And of course, if you're using spaces, then you must use hard brackets. Now you'll notice that in the earlier query we did not include a where clause. And that's actually quite deliberate, because a select clause is absolutely needed. A from clause is needed if you're going to refer to tables. The where clause is optional. The group by is optional unless you're using aggregations. And what should you do if you're not using aggregations? I generally don't use the group by clause. It's only to be used if you want to reduce duplications, for instance, which is a possible function of the group by clause. So there will only ever be in this result set one row with purchase order ID 7. So we've grouped all of the remaining data for purchase order ID onto one row. So let's go back to our more complicated query. If I wanted to have the total cost of all of the different colors, so I wanted a line that said how many dollars black items were sold for, how many brown items, how many blue items, I can do that. Well, first of all, there's a lot of columns here. I just want the color and I want the line total. So let's start with that. So execute that. So that still gives me 431 rows, that being the total number of black colors in here. So I'll just get rid of that and have it at the lot there, 8,845. So now I want to aggregate them, I want to collapse them, so there's only one black line, one silver line, and so forth. So I will group by color, and I will sum the line total. So there's my line total. So now you can see we have reduced the number of rows to just 10. Silver, grey, red, blank, multi-black, blue, yellow, white, and silver stroke black. So group by. It's used whenever you are doing an aggregation, sum, count, min, max. Generally, you won't use it otherwise. And you can use it with a where clause, or you can use it without a where clause.